Hey YouTube, I haven't done a video in a while, so I thought I would do a review of my 2021 CRF450RL. It's essentially the same as a 2020 CRF450L. They switched it to RL instead of just L, but other than graphics, there's no major change. They slightly fixed the fuel mapping issue that was causing the flameout issue that many people reported for 20 and older models. And this one, I would say they haven't totally fixed it, but it's better. When I bought it, I raised the idle just a tick, and I've had it, maybe flame out 5 times in 600 miles that I've owned it. So I would say it's better, but it's still not perfect. It does run very hot. If you touch that exhaust pipe, even at the tip, it'll scold you. It gets blue hot. You can see the header pipe is already kind of blued. So it does run lean, but it still has quite a bit of power. It could benefit from a fuel programmer and a slip-on exhaust, but for mostly just driving on trails in the street, I don't want to make it too loud. I would say the power is plenty adequate. The main drawback I see to this bike compared to the competition, such as KTM and Husky, is actually the weight of the bike. A lot of people talk about the power being a little lower, but a 450 in the woods, when you got, 40 plus horsepower, even that is almost overkill for trail riding. You can loft the front wheel up if you want. And with this one, the fuel programming is kind of jerky at low RPM. That's the other thing that makes this a little tricky in the woods. And once you get used to it, it's not terrible. But if you're used to like a carbureted, cable style bike where like the first quarter throttle, nothing really happens. This bike, when you first grab that throttle, you can easily, grab too much of it and kind of panic. So you really have to, have good clutch and throttle control with this bike. And this does have a cable clutch. It's not hydraulic like a lot of the race bikes are in some of the other European competition. So it is a pretty heavy pull. I would say it's not terrible, but if you're used to a light hydraulic clutch, this one, even with 2 fingers, actually takes a pretty firm pull, which I actually prefer a stiffer clutch, but if you do a lot of clutch work, it is a little tiring in stock form. As far as mods that I've done to this, the only thing I've done is put better tires. So the factory tires on this are pretty much the same as I think the 300L. And they're okay on a gravel road if it's smooth, and they're really good on the street. They're more of a street tire. But as soon as you hit any mud or sand or even ruts, those tires will completely lose grip and you'll fall over. So I put the Metzeler M360 mid-hard tire, and you can kind of see up close. They're starting to wear a little bit on the drive side. I have about 150 miles on these tires, mostly actually pavement. I've been doing a lot of street riding with this. And these tires do howl a little bit, but they're still manageable on the street. You just got to drive like a sane person. You can't, lean this over like a street bike. You'll, wash out. But you can drive it on the street, if you use caution. But off-road, these tires are actually really good. And you can see the front knobby as well. So they do have, quite a bit of side lug to them. And these are very stiff tires, so they should last a long time. I mean, even if you have no air in the tire, you could probably still ride home if you had a rim lock, because they were very stiff. Probably twice as stiff as the original tires. So I'm only running about 11 PSI in them, and it seems like even that's almost too much because they're just a very hard tire carcass. As far as reliability, I haven't had a single issue with this bike. I mean, it starts up first click of the starter button. This does have a lithium battery. I do wish they had a backup Kickstarter just in case, because with the fuel injection, this would be almost impossible to start if that battery were to fail on the trail. And as far as the range, a lot of people say the tank is too small. It's got the titanium 2-gallon tank. And I usually carry like an extra quart fuel bottle with me. And I just drive usually till the fuel light comes on, which when that comes on, you have half a gallon left, which is usually about, 65, 70 miles of trail riding, depending on how you drive. Because if you ride this hard, you might get 30, 35 mpg. If you drive it, like a church saint, you'll probably get around 50 with it. I usually average in the low 40s with it. And this one is plated for the street and the trail, so I can drive it anywhere. But I would say the main strong point of this bike is that it doesn't do anything the best. It's got a good frame, it's got good suspension, it's got amazing, good headlight. But what I like is that the package is put together very well. The fit and finish is second to none. There's no other dual sport bike that has this sort of quality. This one is fully made in Japan. I mean, you can just tell that Honda really put, thought into making this a quality bike. But, it's not the perfect bike, but it's a great all-around bike. If you do a lot of street, some trail, you know, a little single track, it is a little heavy for that, so it's not the best, but you can do it. But the fact that this does everything is amazing.